gentlemen, welcome back to episode 408 of the Wrestle Blog. It's time for a little bit of the state of wrestling address. Every Thursday, we discuss all the nonsense from the wrestling world. And of course, flying solo, I am your host, Aaron Nix. It's Aaron, not Aaron. God damn it. Get it right or I'll fucking shoot you. It seems we've started with a Vince McMahon impression. We may as well talk about Vince McMahon and, of course, wrestling as a whole. So, there's only one real topic to discuss this week with any real poignancy, and that is, of course, the coronavirus outbreak. We're not going to get into the politics and the demographics of it all. Essentially, this is a certain strain of influenza that causes respiratory issues. And this has found its way into Western society, coming out of China originally, I believe. But simply put, the outbreak is threatening to cancel many an event, particularly in America now, who are now starting to take this quite seriously. The NBA season has now been suspended until further notice. That's the National Basketball Association, which is quite a big deal. I'd expect to see this happen with other sports as well. Everything is very touch and go, and wrestling is no exception to that. Unfortunately, there have been numerous cancellations, whether that be independent shows, larger shows across Europe, etc. And most notably, of course, eyes are on Wrestlemania 36 from Tampa, Florida. Tampa officials are due to meet at some point this afternoon, probably right now, actually, as I'm recording this, to make a decision which may affect whether WrestleMania will go ahead or not. Originally, there was a statement made that they wouldn't have to make these decisions until later down the line, and it was a week-to-week basis. But obviously, with WrestleMania, talking about a stadium that's going to have 80,000 people in there, and of course, health and safety is going to be very crucial to these people with this pandemic. Now, obviously, there's a lot of differing opinions on COVID-19, aka the coronavirus. My corona! Sorry, but it's just in my head. You're going to have to deal with that. There's a lot of opinions about it. Some people basically say that it's no more dangerous than the flu, and everything's conjecture. Everybody thinks they're a fucking scientist, as is per the case with social media. If you want my opinions on it from a personal standpoint, I'm more than happy to drop a little rant on YouTube or something. But the most important thing is, of course, that people look after themselves and remain safe, regardless of the threat of illness or not. And it's a difficult scenario. I, for one, would not be willing to cancel WrestleMania. If I was in charge, I wouldn't cancel WrestleMania. It's particularly until I had very good reason to. Now, if scientists or health experts could provide me with evidence that was just, if you go ahead with it, you could, cause a serious outbreak or a pandemic which could lead to numerous deaths, then absolutely fine. Obviously, I wouldn't go ahead with it. But right now, it is a very isolated case. Great Britain, for instance, which is, of course, where I'm based, 10,000 cases of the coronavirus. Now, that sounds like a lot. And then, of course, you put into context the fact that we live in a country of, or Britain at least, is 60, 70 million people. From my personal opinion, 10,000 isn't a great deal. It depends on how much the validity is for it to spread and how much they can handle it. I've spoken to NHS officials, people who work in the NHS, who have spoken to me, friends and that, who have said to me that it's a little bit overblown. But at the same time, we have to take every single precaution possible. So, at the end of the day, I'm not here to get in a slanger match. And I'm sure people will leave comments on YouTube and contact us and tweet us and whatever it means. And you're more than welcome to do so. WrestlePlug across all social media platforms. Just look for @WrestlePlug. But from our standpoint, I'm looking at this, the fact that WrestleMania could be cancelled. I don't personally think it should be cancelled yet. But apparently there's a very good chance it will be, and it will be moved to the summer, which is fine. Ultimately, I think that's a very good place to have it. It does kind of throw things out of whack, but then there's also the opportunity to really make a good, just something different. I think whenever there's something different in the wrestling world, that's always fun, and people like unpredictability, they like organic things, and having WrestleMania, say, in around SummerSlam, or maybe moving SummerSlam over or taking it somewhere else would be very cool, actually. Very different. So we'll see how it goes. It's very difficult to say. Obviously, in other news as well, OTT have had to scrap. Sorry, that's a terrible pun. They've had to cancel Scrap of Mania 6 this weekend. They were going to have a 2-day doubleheader, headlined by, of course, David Starr versus Jon Moxley. That's no longer a proposition. Ireland has decided to cancel that, and you've got to think it must be a matter of time before NXT UK gets pulled as well, if that's the case, because if they're willing to pull the biggest independent wrestling show in Ireland at such late notice, there's a very good chance they'll be looking at, the Free Arena, which is going to hold even more people for NXT UK TakeOver in Dublin in just over a month's time. It's a very good opportunity. It's a very good chance that that's probably going to fall by the wayside too. Where do you stop with it? That's the problem. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor, but it's difficult. It's very difficult. For instance, I'm attending numerous wrestling events over the next 3 weeks, and it's very interesting actually because they're all London kind of based, and from what I can tell, London seems to be very quiet. Not seems to be much activity on the coronavirus front. I live down in Brighton, on the south coast of the UK, and that tends to be quite a hotbed for the coronavirus. But I can assure you, everyone involved with the Wrestle Plug is fine, in particular myself. Well, that might be disappointing for some of you, I'm afraid, but it's very, very difficult because whoever you speak to, they've all got differing opinions. My partner is very nervous about the whole concept. I'm not overly bothered about it at this point, if I'm being honest. I know that will come across as annoying or a shock or whatever to certain people, but I do think that everybody should take a more calmer approach. I don't think social media helps whatsoever because people go on social media and just basically spread wildfire and freak out. And if you're on social media doing that sort of stuff, maybe take a step back, maybe step away from social media until you can gather your thoughts and articulate them in the correct manner, because causing more panic never helps. It really doesn't. And more often than not, these kind of issues, whether it be a pandemic or an illness or a international incident of sorts, a terrorist attack, any kind of thing like this, it's normally blown out of proportion tenfold by the ridiculous nature of people on social media. Just calm the fuck down. There's way too many horny teenagers running around thinking they're the next fucking Michael Burke. No need for it. But yeah, that's obviously the main talking point when it comes to the news, and it is frustrating. It is frustrating, and I understand, and from a wrestling fan's perspective, for a lot of us, wrestling is something that we use as an opportunity to escape our reality, escape realism, escape the mundane day-to-day lives, and, sort of immerse ourselves in a different reality, a different culture. And when that's taken away from us, we can be a bit spiteful or a bit aggressive. OTT fans have been amazing in their response of looking to not only raise money but also make very aware the merchandise sales for multiple wrestlers and things like that. That's unbelievably above and beyond, and it's a wonderful cause, don't get me wrong. Obviously, people kind of have to look out for themselves, but I also appreciate that independent wrestlers are just that independent, and a lot of them have lost a large chunk of profit and finance from this event being cancelled, and that's going to be worse and worse as it goes forward. It's nice to see some wrestlers like Will Ospreay in particular looking to make good developments and good communications through this. He's looking at the idea of a no fans wrestling show, which would be very cool, very similar to the old Sunday Night Heat between Mankind and The Rock. You can't really go wrong with something like that. So there's always positivity to come out of these things, and anyone listening who is panicking or a little bit over the top with things, just relax, just stay calm, just do the stuff that you normally do. It's right now it seems to be relatively under control, and I think people need to calm the fuck down. It's as simple as that, but it is what it is, and we're going to continue to pump out content as much as possible, and if this subject tends to pop up or there's more news, you can always check out our social media channels and catch our opinions day to day. And The YouTube is always open, by the way, and I've not really had a chance to really promote it much, but our YouTube channel is now really going for it. I'm really trying to push for content on there now, as well as all our other social media platforms, and we're going to be using that to do some WrestlePlug rants. And what that is that you can actually send in topics that you want to hear me rant about, and I'm going to let rip on YouTube. So whatever you want as a rant, you have to contact me. You have to let me know, whether that be at WrestlePlug or privately or whatever it may be. But yeah, start sending in your topics, and maybe we can get a bit more positivity and a bit more fun going, and you guys can enjoy a bit of my rage in the process. Either way, should be a good giggle. As far as news goes, obviously Tony Khan as well, he addressed this situation for All Elite Wrestling. He said that he was fine with any of his wrestlers taking time away or not attending events due to COVID-19, any worries or health and scares that might be in there. Next week, they're in Rochester, New York. They've just had their first confirmed case of the coronavirus. And of course, that has raised a lot of fear or ire amongst people. You know, these big events, it's not a case of, oh shit, you know, someone's got it, now everybody's going to get it. The problem is that if one person does have it, it's very likely they could spread it like wildfire at an event like this, and then all of a sudden you could have contained it, and instead you've got, like, you know, I don't know, 5,000 cases instead of one. And that's kind of why these precautions are being taken. So I understand them, even though it is very frustrating. But yeah, Tony Khan seems to be handling it quite well, saying that obviously nobody's push or nobody's stature on the card will be affected by that. So it is what it is. We'll see how it develops, and if there's any more news, obviously, that comes out, we always try and be on top of it. We're not a dirt sheet, we're not a wrestling news source as such, but we do offer opinions. We offer honest opinions, and hopefully some of those will find their way onto it. There has just been actually a breaking update via the dirt sheets and the news sources that I tend to look at. Tampa City officials make the announcement regarding Wrestlemania 36, and once my page loads, we will jump into that. But it's cool because my internet can take its sweet fucking time. Ah, dear. Money well spent, ladies and gentlemen. Money well spent. By the way, little side note, little side rant. BT, get your shit together, man, because I'm trying to do periscopes, right? Not fucking working properly. Don't understand that. We pay good money for our fucking broadband. What the fuck are you doing? You know, stop sitting in your fucking whopping great telecom tower in London, fingering your anus, and crack on and give me my information at a relatively decent pace. Anyway, WrestleMania 36 update. WrestleMania 36 will move forward as scheduled, at least for now. As we've noted, top WWE officials and local officials met today in Tampa to discuss the status of WrestleMania 36. Right now, WrestleMania is out about 3 weeks, Hillsborough Commissioner Les Miller said this afternoon. We came to the conclusion that at this point we don't want to pull that plug. However, we wanted to give it at least a week to see what was going to happen. If WWE was going to do anything at all, if they don't at that point, I will suggest that we do come together for an emergency meeting to discuss what we do at that particular point in time. So basically, they don't really fucking know, and they're just going to leave it till the last minute, which is fine, because that's, when you got an event of this magnitude of 80,000 people, you kind of have to. So there you go. That's from WrestlingInc.com. Right now, it goes ahead. We'll see how it goes. In other news, British Bulldogs going into the WWE Hall of Fame. That's fucking awesome. I don't take the Hall of Fame that seriously. I know a lot of people do. People are like, oh, fucking Shawn should be in, and Vader and everybody else. And it's like, yeah, everybody should be in the Hall of Fame. I totally agree, especially if they've given such a long and historic career to the company. But it's a Hall of Fame. It's not even a proper Hall of Fame. We're not talking about I believe it's the Cauliflower Alley Club, which is a very famous and prestigious Hall of Fame. They're particularly good in the way they do their things. That's based in America. It's just Vince McMahon's WWE Hall of Fame. And it is wonderful, and it's a great opportunity to hear the stories, and for that one night for people to give back to these wrestlers. This is kind of like their opportunity to be able to have their moment, you know, just them in that spotlight. And for a lot of the people who go into the Hall of Fame, this might be their only real opportunity to stand in a spotlight by themselves. British Bulldog being inducted is very cool and very important to us, obviously, being British. British Bulldog is one of those guys who, and I don't think people really understand this enough, particularly the younger generation, Sorry to sound like an old man, but when I was growing up, British Bulldog was one of the big reasons why people watched American wrestling in this country, and why WWE was so popular. The idea of Davey Boy Smith, this, Tank, but he was proper British. He was a British Bulldog. Like, he was really British. The big old stiff upper lip, the strong jaw. Just a tough bruiser, a brawler, a powerhouse. Very archetypal British wrestler in a lot of ways. And just a phenomenal representation of British wrestling. He really was. If you ask anyone who their favourite British wrestler was in the late 80s, early 90s, it's Dynamite Kid and it's the British Bulldog. You had the British Bulldogs as well, who were a phenomenal tag team. It's sad to see Dynamite Kid go the way he did, but he's still a legend. And when you look at some of the people who aren't in the Hall of Fame, British Bulldog had to be very high and really up there in terms of people who belonged in that Hall of Fame. And he'll finally go in alongside some incredibly prestigious talents. And the Bellas. No, I'm kidding. I'm taking a piss. The Bellas absolutely, for my money, deserve to be in there. And I know a lot of angry Becky Lynch stands like, why is the Bellas in there? Just shut up and do your research. It's very easy to find out. But yeah, I really do believe that this is quite a cool landmark. It's no small feat, and it's not really too much of an exaggeration to say that we wouldn't have got SummerSlam 92 over here, and big stadium shows like SummerSlam would probably not have been nearly as big of a success if it wasn't for British Bulldog when it comes to, sort of that ability. So in 1992, obviously, it's because of the British Bulldog really that we had that show, that SummerSlam 92 main event at Wembley Stadium. And of course it was main evented by Bret Hart versus British Bulldog for the Intercontinental title. Unless of course you're in America, in which case they aired, I believe, Ultimate Warrior versus Randy Savage for the WWF title, which ended in a double disqualification. Thanks America. Because it aired obviously on tape delay. But yeah, his legacy is very strong. It's a very powerful one. I have so many memories of the British Bulldog, good and bad. I remember watching Insurrection around my mate's house. Insurrection was terrible, right? It was like Rebellion. These were bad pay-per-views. What they were WWE pay-per-views in Britain only. They wouldn't air in America. They'd only air in Britain. They'd be on Skybox. So they'd be 10, 15 quid, maybe 20 quid sometimes, which is a liberty when you think about it. And what they were glorified house shows, because nothing would ever happen. No titles would ever really change hands. Except for the one that we watched in 2000. It was Insurrection. I remember all of my schoolmates and that, what few mates I did have, we all went round to my mate Chris's house. There's about 8 or 9 of us, and we're all sat around. His dad did pretty well for himself, and had a nice big TV, so we're all sat around this big TV watching Insurrection. And I remember British Bulldog winning the hardcore title. And that was like his kind of big return after a while out. And it was just so fucking cool. I was like, oh yeah, fucking the British Bulldog, like, the true legend. It was very, very awesome to see. And obviously he's part of the Hart Foundation. He did so much, not only for British wrestling, but for Canadian wrestling, and obviously marrying into the Hart family. And yeah, just very cool. And to know that his son, David Boy Smith Jr., will accept and also induct him into the Hall of Fame is very, very cool. Very, very cool. Like, I was worried they might try and be a bit crafty or have someone, a bit over the thing. It's so often you think, why is that person inducting him? Or why is that person inducting him? And ultimately, it should be up to that human being themselves. And I don't believe that WWE always allows that person to dictate that. But here we have his son, and that's the right move. David Boy Smith Jr., who's obviously carving out a great legacy for himself. Going to be very cool to see him back on WWE television after all these years, after he's part of the Reborn Hart dynasty as well. So I'm sure it'll be a very emotional ceremony. Some great wrestlers going in. Of course, the NWO's going in, the Bellas are going in, JBL's going in. Like, a lot of very famous names. I'm not necessarily in agreement with all of them, but at the same time, I also appreciate that all of them have done an incredible amount for the wonderful brand of sports entertainment that we watch and enjoy, and none more so than British Bulldog, who for my money really should be headlining it, although it'd probably be NWO because those are Triple H's boys. It means the NWO, they gotta get the pusher. I can just see it now, like he's like, yeah, you gotta make sure to kick out of one, brother. So Hulk Hogan's just covered it. He's just, oh dear. He's just collecting rings at this point. Not all of them, ones that you put on your finger, I imagine. Just saying. The leathery bastard. Anyway, I don't give a shit. It's not like Hulk Hogan's got to listen to this podcast. Fuck you, Hulk Hogan. You're a terrible person, and you did so much to fucking ruin so many people's careers. You stood on so many people's heads, and you were ultimately an absolute shit can, cancerous nutcase who fucking charged around promotions and squashed everybody possible just to help build your own legacy. You wouldn't even fucking kick out and do the job or anything like that for people properly. You were just a piece of shit, and also you fucking tried your very hardest to bury Randy Savage, but unfortunately for you, people like him or Roddy Piper were way too charismatic. All you did was just shout, brother, 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 Jack, dude, talk about Pasta Mania and do a shitty fucking leg drop. Go fuck yourself, you livery prick. Anyway, back to the podcast. Yeah, not really much else to talk about, is there? You know, British Bulldogs in the Hall of Fame. This Saturday, the Wrestle plug rolls in to Battle Pro Wrestling, which is going to be fucking awesome at the Resistance Gallery in London. Don't know if tickets are still available. If they are, you can check out Battle Pro on Twitter. It's going to be fucking brilliant. It's got such a good card. Headlined by Chris Ridgway versus David Francisco for the Battle Pro Heavyweight Championship. Not to mention the NIC are going to be involved in a Tag Team Championship deathmatch. Oh, suit you, sir. Oh, Ashmore versus Charlie Evans as well. Should be fucking awesome. Charlie Evans is genuinely one of the best women's wrestlers for my money in the world at this point. I think she's doing incredible things, great intergender matches, and there's a plethora of great talents in the undercard as well. Guys like Oliver Peace, Clementine's going to be there. Really excited. Really excited to see this show. Great to be back at some indie wrestling. And so yeah, that's where you'll be able to find us this Saturday, ladies and gentlemen. So if anybody happens to find themselves in London on March 14th and is at the Resistance Gallery and sees a gigantic bearded man with all his chums, feel free to come over, grab a photo with us, hello. Don't be afraid to ask me to whip my phone out and we'll record a little bit of nonsense from you and see what you think. And we'll stick it on the YouTube channel on our next podcast because we'll be reviewing that show as well. So that will likely be our next podcast, will be the review of Battle Pro this weekend. So really excited to see what Battle Pro has to offer. My first chance to see them. Not to mention only a second time believing on to Resistance Gallery. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, not really much to discuss. Obviously, our good friends at Reach Wrestling, please check them out, reachwrestling.com. If you're after tickets, ringsideworld.co.uk. They've got an academy show and a main show on, I believe, May the 2nd and 3rd. Saturday and Sunday, that weekend, the first weekend of May at least. I can guarantee that at least. Some amazing matches on both shows. The Academy show, by the way, I think is only £8, which is obscene. Not to mention you can go on Groupon now and get discounts for their tickets, which I think is really fucking cool. So I highly recommend people check that out. That's a really cool price. Like £8 to see LA Taylor versus Joey Seven for the Reach Academy Championship. Yes, please. Not to mention watching Echo Reed wallop that midget Jason King all around the arena. And yes, I'm aware that Echo Reed is quite small, but come on, Jason. You're supposed to be a man. You look fucking tiny, bruv. Fucking tiny. Honestly, I thought it was Rey Mysterio without a mask at first. But all jokes aside, you should check that out. It's going to be a fucking awesome card. It really is. Aurora versus Hotshot. All injuries being well and good is going to be fucking fantastic as well. Really excited about that. So much talent on that Reach Academy roster alone. Then of course the next day you've got all these phenomenal main event level talents, so to speak, although I certainly see the Academy guys and girls on the same level as a lot of them. And so many guys are going to be, the tag team titles are obviously going to be on the line. Big Grizz and Josh Knott defending them against who is the captain? Lucian Phillips or Lance Cole? You tell us. Let us know who you think's the captain out of that pair. I'm going to go with Lance Cole, because he might be a Poundland Val Venus, but he's my Poundland Val Venus. I fucking love Lance Cole. He's amazing. Not to mention, obviously, Charlie Sterling will be in action, Eddie Ryan. Loads of great contests coming up. And, of course, you can also get tickets for their huge day in July. They're obviously their 2-year anniversary. That is just... It's just going to be crazy. I can't believe it's come around as quickly as it has. But yeah, there's going to be a lot There's going to be a lot of great content coming out of Reach Wrestling going forward. So if you want details on everything that is Reach, check them out at Reach Wrestling or Reach Wrestling on Facebook, ringsideworld.co.uk, of course, for a lot of your local independent needs, and particularly for Reach tickets as well, if you're after tickets for that. But like I say, probably the most affordable and valuable and I think best value for money of most wrestling companies, and most wrestling companies charge good prices, but Reach in particular, they give you insane value for money with a great fan base and an incredible quality of product. So I highly recommend people checking that out. So wherever you're going to see wrestling this weekend, if you are listening to this podcast, let us know. Give us your opinions on what you saw. Send us in a little review or whatever. We're happy to highlight that, give you a shout out, maybe post your content on here as well. But yeah, most importantly, guys, enjoy your weekend. Try and stay safe. Try and stay healthy wherever you are. We know we have friends who listen to this all over the world, and honestly, if the coronavirus is an issue in your area or whatever it may be, just take the right precautions. Obviously, listen to your local healthcare authorities or whatever it may be that can hand out the proper advice, and just do the basic things well, and just look after yourselves, go about your day-to-day lives, try not to panic, and most importantly, just be happy, be safe, and look after your families and your loved ones. And if you are watching wrestling this weekend, which is available, because I know there is so much that is being cancelled, let us know and enjoy it. Most importantly, just enjoy it, because nothing's for certain, but wrestling is phenomenal, and when you are at wrestling, you're guaranteed to have a good time, for the majority at least. There's the odd shindy, isn't there? But even then, those things are fucking entertaining. Dear oh dear. By the way, Wisconsin, can't wait to fly over there and see some of your annoyingly hilarious shindies. So excited about that. But yeah, loads to get into in terms of that. I suppose before I go, actually, I should really cover NXT, because I didn't cover NXT. Now, we did cover AEW, ladies and gentlemen. You can check out the full review on YouTube. Not to mention, I'm dropping a rant very soon about my thoughts on the Blood and Guts show that they're doing in a couple of weeks. Yeah, AEW is great. I've dropped most of my opinions, so you can check them out on YouTube. I don't really need to repeat them. It was a good show. Thought it was a little bit stale. Liked the main event. I thought Hangman Page was great, and also I thought the women's division was a bit of a fucking joke, and I went into detail on that on the podcast, so you can check that out on YouTube, excuse me. If you go on YouTube and just search for Wrestle Plug, it is currently our latest video. That'll probably be content updated, but you'll be able to find it no problem. Check out the AEW review, Wrestle Plug reviews. Have a look in that playlist and you'll find it. As far as NXT went, I watched that from the Performance Center. Obviously, I watch AEW live now. I just pretty much can't watch NXT immediately, which is why I never sleep. Good show. Very good show, actually. Thought it was very fun. Really loved the Embrel, Gargano and Ciampa. It's endless with those guys. You honestly think, oh, maybe I've had enough of Gargano and Ciampa. Maybe it's going to bore me after a while. And they just keep coming back with more content. They're endless. They're unstoppable. I love them so much. I fucking adore Gargano and Ciampa as a pairing. It was a great show. I thought quite a lot of matches were a bit short. Very disappointed that Dakota Kai didn't beat Mia Yim to get into that ladder match as well. I don't really know what they're doing with that. It doesn't really make any sense for Dakota Kai to lose that match, particularly when she had Raquel Gonzalez at ringside. There's a few things I'm nitpicking at. Didn't like the fact that the other women's match was incredibly short as well. You had a Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair squaring up to each other. I love that. Love the fact that Charlotte Flair locked in that nasty figure four around the ring post, which of course Bret Hart made famous. I fucking adore that move. Love that. I remember when he put it on Shawn Michaels in 97. I was freaking out. It's so good. Yeah, there's absolutely plenty to get your teeth into still with NXT. For me, I don't want to sound like... I very rarely sit on the fence, as people know, but I've got to say, I found them very even. There wasn't really much between the two of them, and I wouldn't be surprised if that relates to the ratings as well, but I don't really give a shit, because I watch both, and I don't care, and I'm not going to stop watching one just because somebody doesn't like it, and I'm so sick of toxic social media where people are just like, oh, if you watch AEW, you're a prick. Oh, you watch NXT, you're scum. You can watch both, okay? It's brand loyalty is for fucking morons. I've said that so many times, but it really is. Brand loyalty is for fucking idiots. It really is. Enjoy your brand loyalty. Yeah, what you're essentially doing is halving all the great content that you can check out. Just enjoy what you enjoy. And if you don't enjoy something, for whatever reason, that's fine. But don't deliberately not check something out just because oh, I'm so loyal to Vince and WWE. Yeah, I'm sure Vince really gives a fuck about your $10 a month, mate. Fucking loyalty, please. It's the wrestling world, honestly. You get behind the scenes and see the loyalty, then you fucking have a real culture shock behind you. But ultimately, yeah, I thought NXT was really good, but I thought AEW was quite good as well. Both of them have problems. Both of them have things that I wish they would do better, which, from my perspective at least, being subjective, that I would like to see. But I thought both shows were fairly even. I think NXT for me had more big moments, but I think the quality of wrestling was slightly better on AEW, from my perspective at least. It's like you say, it's just taste, innit? But hey, both shows are doing well, and that's fucking cool. And the more wrestling that does well, the better, because you don't know what kind of wrestling you're going to be seeing over the next few weeks with all this virus nonsense. So I'm going to leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you've enjoyed listening to the State of Wrestling address. We'll be back next Thursday. As always, every Thursday, ladies and gentlemen, is when we drop the State of Wrestling address. Sometimes it's quite late in the day. It depends, obviously, on my schedule, work, and everything that's going on, but I do try my best to make sure that it is out there every Thursday. And of course, every Monday is Manic Mondays. We didn't have one this week. A few people messaged me and said, where was Manic Mondays this week? The reason we didn't have it is because we had the Elimination Chamber review and we didn't want to overwhelm people with content, especially now that we're frying stuff out on YouTube as well. So Manic Mondays will return next week. I assure you there will be a Battle Pro review this weekend as well, so check that out if you're involved in Battle Pro or you just love your British independent wrestling and want to hear about the next crop of stars coming through. And most importantly, I'd just like to say once again, please stay healthy, please look after each other wherever you are in the world, and try not to panic too much, try not to pay attention on social media too much. And hopefully at the end of this weekend you would have enjoyed some great wrestling content wherever you may be, whether you've watched it on TV or live in person, and that you've had a wonderful weekend. We will speak to you very soon for more content from the Wrestle Plug.